A few weeks ago at the Consumer Electronics Show, Intel, AMD and Nvidia announced the mobile CPUs that are going into laptops this year, and I did a live stream about it a few weeks ago. Intel's mid to high-end mobile CPUs will be using 14 cores, 6 performance and 8 efficiency. And the idea is that the laptop will switch to efficiency cores when doing light tasks like Office or browsing the web or YouTube, whatever. AMD's mid to high-end chips will be 8 cores, 16 threads, and Nvidia have announced a 3070 Ti and 3080 Ti, which will mainly be going into gaming laptops and workstations for creators and different things like that. Now, the AMD-based laptops will not be coming out until April or May, but the new Intel-based laptops will be coming out in a few weeks. So the embargo seems to be lifted because yesterday we saw many benchmarks being released, many reviews being released on tech websites and from tech YouTubers. So what I'd like to do is just go over some of the articles that I've read about it and give you my 2 cents. So here I am on videocards.com, which is a fantastic little website for checking the latest CPU and GPU news. And you can see the headline here that the Intel Core i7-12700H is on average 25%, 35% faster than the Ryzen 7 5800H in single and multi-threaded tests. Single core and multi-core. Now, to me, that's a bit of a strange, unfair comparison because what we should be comparing here is the 12700H to last year's 11800H. But it's not this article's fault, it's because the source has done this comparison. Now, if I hide my face for a second, you'll be able to see here the single core performance down the left. So you've got the R7 5800H as the benchmark, the base score. And then you've got last year's i9, then you've got this year's i5 and i7 chips from Intel. And then you've got the multi-core performance at the right-hand side. And you can see that, yes, the i7 is 25% better than the 5800H, and it's better than last year's i9 in single and multi-core. But for me, the thing that really steals the show here is the fact that this year's i5 is beating last year's i9. To me, that is significant. That's really, really impressive. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that in laptops as well, and hopefully the i5 chips will be sensibly priced, who knows. But like I was saying, I think a fairer comparison, of course, will be this year's mid-range Intel chip against this year's mid-range AMD chip, and those AMD chips, they're not out yet, so we can't do the benchmarks yet. That being said, there is another article where they're talking about the Ryzen 9 6900HX. So last year, the 5900HX was kind of the sweet spot in many ways as far as fantastic performance, maybe 5% behind the Intel equivalent. You didn't get Thunderbolt support, but you got great performance and you got amazing battery life. They're saying this year that the new chip is 12% better in single core and 33% better in multi-core because of this leak on Geekbench. But it doesn't tell you the full story because we don't know yet how efficient this CPU is going to be, and we don't know the pricing yet because last year Intel-based laptops were more expensive than their AMD equivalent. So if AMD come out and their AMD Ryzen 7 and 9 chips are, even if they're not as good as the Intel equivalent, if they're a little bit cheaper, if they're a little bit more efficient, it might be the one to go for. Now, also out now is the new 3070 Ti and the new 3080 Ti laptops. Now, apart from tech testers, which they reviewed the new SCAR 15, or the re-release of it essentially because they're using the same chassis, but it's the same model, the same chassis as last year, but they've put in a new i9 12900H with a 3070 Ti. Apart from that review, nearly all the reviews here are of 3080 Ti's, big 17-inch gaming laptops. Now, if you look across the board here, all of the benchmarks for these new 17-inch powerhouses is amazing. You know, they're posting some fantastic scores here. Notebook Check, obviously, a fantastic website for checking reviews. And there's another analysis here about the GPU performance. But if you look at this review from Anantech, they've got some mobile scores here, and it does seem like the 3080 Ti compared to last year's mobile GPUs, from a gaming perspective anyway, it seems to be that, at 1080p, there isn't much of an improvement. So you can see here some of the benchmarks, even comparing it to the last year's 3080 and 6800M from AMD, there is a performance boost, and you're going to get extra frames per second, but it doesn't seem to be that significant. But with some of these scores, it is quite impressive. You can see here with Rise of the Tomb Raider, I suspect that's CPU throttled, so the new CPU is helping that. So you can see that goes up to 184 frames per second compared to maybe 119 with AMD's 5900HX with the 6800M. And if you don't know, this 6800M was only in one laptop, and the performance kind of sat between a 3070 and a 3080. But yeah, some of these benchmarks are impressive when you're looking at the 1440p scores or maybe the 4K scores, but some of them are not as impressive, so it does depend on the game. But yeah, a lot of these benchmarks are out now, so it's quite interesting to see what's going on. I've looked at a lot of these benchmarks and reviews over the last 2 days, and from a performance point of view at least, it seems like it's going to be a very good year to own an Intel laptop. The single and multi-threaded benchmarks are impressive, and even this year's i5 seems to be beating last year's i9. From a battery efficiency point of view, it might be a different story, but we don't have the full picture yet. Most of the laptops that have been reviewed so far are 17 inches. They're desktop replacement laptops where the focus is performance and not battery life. Tech testers did review the Scar 15 and they showed 7.5 hours of battery life, which is really good, but it's also behind last year's AMD chips. So once AMD come out with their new chips this year, it might fall even further behind. But that might be a little bit different in different lighter laptops, thinner laptops. All of these laptops have got high TDPs for the GPU. There's a lot of watts going to the GPU and the CPU. And we might find with some of these thinner, lighter laptops with Intel chips that performance is a lot better. So time will tell. As someone who is looking to buy a gaming laptop over the next few months, I obviously have to put all these, benchmarks and reviews into context. The first thing being that the majority of these laptops being reviewed cost over $4,000, and that's not what I'm going to be spending, and it's not what most people will be spending on a new gaming laptop this year. They've also all got 3080 Ti's, and they're all getting 175 watts because they're all in big 17-inch desktop replacement chassis where there's no real limitations on thermals or noise or anything like that. So they can send as much power as they want to the CPU and GPU and get as much performance as they want. It's going to be a very different story when these chips are in thinner and lighter laptops where heat is a problem, where noise is a problem. And once the CPU and GPU is throttled a little bit, well, what's going to happen? Are those CPU scores and the GPU scores going to be as impressive? Are we going to see as big a difference in games, frames per second, etc., compared to last year? Probably not. So then that brings up the question, which model do you buy? Is it maybe better to buy a model from last year if the price is right? I don't know. We will see. And we still have AMD's laptops to come out in a few months as well, which is going to change the game and give us a better picture as to what's actually happening this year. Last year, the sweet spot for Intel gaming laptops was the 3060 or the 3070. And I suspect this year it's going to be the same, the 3060, 3070 or 3070 Ti. And it's the same with AMD as well, where, at a certain point, you pay more, a lot more for a little more performance. So you might pay 30% more for the laptop and you get 5-10% more frames per second in a game. Or you might pay 50% or 100% more and you get a 20% boost. That, the law of diminishing returns always kicks in tech, and it's especially true in gaming laptops. My guess is that the 3070, 3070 Ti and the AMD equivalent, because AMD are bringing out, AMD GPU laptops as well. My guess is those will be the sweet spot, but we shall see. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed my opinion, my look at these new laptops that are coming out. I am looking to buy a laptop, so I will be doing a review soon when I do pick one up. But I'd love to hear your opinion on this, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these new Intel-based laptops, and I'd love to hear your opinion on the 3070 Ti and the 3080 Ti. Please do leave a comment below, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Take care.